Nothing in this world lasts forever. Empires fall. Emperors too. There is a war going on. A real war. The first Gladiator by Ridley Scott is a truly iconic film, which even after a couple of decades has not lost much of its monumentality. It is a kind of monument to cinematography at the turn of the century, when directors took on truly large-scale projects that forever inscribed their names in the cinematic memory of an entire generation of viewers. But Gladiator is based on a clear and rather simple story at first glance, but at the same time very lively and realistic, and therefore to some extent universal. The dramatic line of the first part will be close to almost everyone, which is why it has such a strong effect. But the film stands out not only for its story. The picture has really good visual scenes, including for the reason that all the filming took place in real locations, and not within the walls of a studio on a green background. The naturalism and scale of some scenes are truly impressive. And it's a pity that nowadays such films are shot less and less often, with preference given to computer graphics. The main roles in the project were played by Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix, who were not so famous at that time. This is definitely one of Crowe's best roles. It was not for nothing that he received an Oscar for it. For Phoenix, the role of Commodus is also one of the strongest in his career. To embody on the screen a character so hated by people is worth a lot. All this acting and visual feast is ideally complemented by the soundtrack by Hans Zimmer, which makes dramatic scenes even more dramatic, and large-scale scenes even more epic. Gladiator is truly the case when all the stars aligned. But almost 2.5 decades have passed, and Ridley Scott returns to his successful story and releases Gladiator II. After the last rather controversial projects of old Scott, his desire to experiment, many viewers have well-founded concerns about the quality of this film. I've already watched the film and I want to say that everything is quite ambiguous. Let's figure it out. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment. Thank you and enjoy watching. The sequel takes place a couple of decades after Maximus' death. Lucius, Lucilla's son and former heir to the Roman Empire, lives in exile with his wife in the province of Numidia. Along with his comrades, they fight to protect their home from colonization by the Romans, who are aggressively expanding their holdings across the globe. When an army led by Marcus Acasio eventually invades and captures the country, Lucius is captured as a slave and returned to Rome against his will. He is soon forced to become a gladiator to fight for his freedom and avenge his wife's murder amid political intrigue in the unstable empire. Interestingly, plans for a sequel to Gladiator were announced almost immediately after its release, with both a sequel and a prequel being considered. However, due to the red tape surrounding the sale to DreamWorks Pictures, the film's development was put on hold. It was only in 2018 that Paramount Pictures decided to resume work on the sequel to Gladiator. Undoubtedly, the main advantage of the film and the reason why it is worth watching is the blockbuster component. From the very beginning of the film, we are greeted by an epic scene with a flotilla of ships, which sets the tone for what is happening and shows that old Ridley can still make large-scale films. Then we are greeted by the Colosseum, which was recreated not in digital format, but as a physical reconstruction on a 1-to-1 scale, with a huge crowd involved. Gladiator fights also needed to be somehow diversified and brought to a new level, and therefore all sorts of wonderful animals appear on the screen, be it wild monkeys, the likes of which the world has never seen, a huge rhinoceros and even sharks. Such scenes make you distract yourself a little from the plot shortcomings of the film and focus on high quality and well-staged action. The second part is larger and bloodier, you can't take that away from it. Among the actors, I would like to mention Denzel Washington, who was liked in this role by many foreign critics, as is often the case with him. He plays Macrinus, a former slave who now lives happily and makes money on his own team of gladiators, and also has secret plans for even greater power. He is very organic in this role and each of his appearances increases interest in what is happening. Pedro Pascal as General Acasio is simply not bad. He does not have much screen time and therefore, in my opinion, he was not able to reveal any unexpected acting side for him. Joseph Quinn and Fred Hechinger, who played the Emperor's crazy brothers, look quite original and interesting. Taking them for these roles was a good decision. We will talk about Paul Mescal, who played the main role, in the minuses, so that it is more clear. The main question that arises when watching Gladiator II is whether this film was needed at all. The first Gladiator was an absolutely finished work, not needing any sequels. A sequel will be at a disadvantage in any case, since it will inevitably be compared with the original, which, admittedly, it loses to in almost everything. Perhaps technical progress does not stand still, and in this aspect the film can offer something new. But then again, a good film is made primarily by an interesting story and strong dramaturgy, and not by action and visuals. And in fact, the plot of the second part largely repeats the plot of the first film, which is why the feeling of secondary nature does not leave throughout the viewing. The main character, played by Paul Mescal, is not without charisma, but at the same time his character does not create the impression of a person for whom thousands of people will go to die. But this is exactly the impression that Russell Crowe created in his time, playing Maximus. Mescal's character dissolves in a rather busy and sometimes oversaturated plot, which is why the focus of attention is lost, and the personal drama of his character does not feel like such at all. It is obvious that the actor prepared well for his role physically, but his acting is not as bright and memorable as one would like. The creators of the film are trying to recreate and repeat what worked well in the first part, be it the personal drama of the characters, political intrigues, inspiring speeches from the lips of the main character. All this is in the film, but we have already seen all this 20 years ago, and in the best possible way. Small flashbacks with shots from the first part to familiar music, although they look cheating, still pleasantly warm the soul. I will not touch on historical inaccuracies and discrepancies of this kind, since I am far from being a historian, and I still separate fiction from documentaries, conditionally. So I don't care how historically accurate a film is, I judge it solely on its artistic merits, and nothing else. If you like to dig into historical accuracy, then Ridley Scott is your judge. Gladiator II is a good movie from old man Ridley, who is already 86 years old, and he still works and shoots large-scale films. There will definitely be those who will treat this film with much more negativity than I do. For various reasons, and they are easy to understand. The first part can be rewatched every few years. This film is only for one time. The peplum genre is going through hard times. Not many large-scale projects are released. And therefore even the second Gladiator, which has a very average level, is not without interest. Thank you all for watching and see you soon.